sitting there.
Property maintenance.
He's not here.
Legally, I gotta sell, he would, when did he say he was coming in?
I reached it with him by email last week.
You have two issues, and the signs where the second one is when you stay in.
He's got three properties he's got to condemn with the way.
Well, maybe he'll, by the time you're done doing your report.
Signs, violations,
My report's always the same.
and sign. And the second one is, what is it? Citizen enforcement components.
Please rise for the pledge.
Police and official of the town.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of this meeting was sent to the Cranbury Press, the Trenton Times, and the Home News Tribune on December 3rd, 2012, posted on the bulletin board, posted on the township's website, and sent to all those who requested a copy of this notice. Roll call, Mr. Cook.
Here.
Ms. Getz is absent this evening. Mr. Mulligan.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
And Mayor Johnson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have the regular township committee minutes of July 8th.
I would go through. Second.
Okay, Mr. Cook.
Yes.
Ms. Getz is absent. Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
And Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 yeas and 1 absent.
We have the regular township committee minutes of July 22nd.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Mr. Cook.
Yes.
Ms. Getz is absent. Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
We have 4 yeas and 1 absent.
And we have the closed session minutes of July 22nd.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Mr. Cook.
Yes.
Ms. Getz is absent. Mr. Mulligan.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
And Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
4 yeas and 1 absent.
I just want to acknowledge that we've got Deputy Clerk Jeannie D'Alessandro with us tonight. I'm sure you folks know that we've got a primary election tomorrow, and the clerk is going to have to be here at 4:45, so Jeannie is assisting us this evening. Since the last meeting, I attended a personnel subcommittee meeting. I met with the fire squad officers, attended family night out in the park, and Mr. Mulligan and Mr. Taylor and I were all in the dug tank for our shifts. And when they finished theirs, they kind of wandered around like they had kind of casual walk on the block. And for 3 days, I felt like I had been beaten with a rooster.
Tom, are you recording?
Just pause for 1 minute.
You turn your phone on?
No, on my phone.
It
This
works.
is actually a very good, the machine is very good, and it can pick up everybody, but if anybody in the back, or when you come up, you can just speak loudly enough so I can hear when I transcribe it.
You also put it on here if you needed to.
Yeah, what did you just do? It went away.
Turn it off the.
Turn off what?
Turn off the mic.
Oh, all the mics.
Yeah, but this picks everything, it's pretty good.
Sure.
I also had a meeting with a young man from Governor Christie's office and attended a planning board meeting. And that's all I have. Yeah, we can talk about it now. Kathy and I discussed Cranbury Day and specifically what we wanted in the booth. And my experience last year was that with the wind, whatever we had in the booth was blowing all over the place anyway. we'll each take a shift, and then anybody who has a comment or a question or complaint or anything, one of us will be there to handle it, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty much been my experience is people just get questions that really doesn't pertain to anything on the table. I mean, as great as it was having the dam picture of Crater Lake, it blew over in 10 seconds last time. It was frustrating. It was a great conversation. It was a great conversation, so I loved it. If we wanted to like lay that on the table and paperweight it down or something, bring that out again, because nothing's really changed on it, we could talk to that again, that's probably the biggest question.
Or we can have a set of plans that have maybe 5 exhibits that are pertinent. I know there's 30-some pages, but maybe 5 of the pieces. They want the big sheets, easy to put a brick on, so that would probably be enough.
That'd be manageable, maybe just paperweight it down, do something for
That'd be all right.
that project.
Nothing most current, but we might buy that one.
But I wouldn't have much stuff.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that we've had, like the voting ballots and everything, the Republicans have, the Democrats have, so it's a lot of repeat material.
Agreed. Good call.
The only other thing before you, oh, sorry, you don't hear your notes?
Well, just one other thing, we have one short shift at the end from 3 to 4 that needs to be filled.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I still don't know what I'm coaching that day, so I
What
can't.
day is it? That's a Saturday, right?
It's a
I can do
Saturday.
3 to 4. Yeah, I don't think have I responded to that? No, I'll do that then.
What am I in for again?
9 to 11?
I mean, this will, might be big for the first half hour, I'm trying to realize, so.
Unless you, Jay, did you want to swap the time?
No, because they haven't set the soccer schedule yet,
Okay.
so I have no idea what time I'm coaching that day, so I can't take the time because it wouldn't,
That's no
if
problem.
they're committed and not do it.
Sorry?
And the only thing, and I don't want to speak out of school, but a while ago we had talked about the fire company and ways to increase recruitment.
Yes.
And the fire company is working on some suggestions based on what other towns do to help recruit. So I believe that they should have a proposal to the Township Committee sometime in September, so that if there's a budget issue, so for example, waiving construction fees or waiving rec fees, it can be discussed at budget time what the impact would be. I told them we wanted to make sure that it was all before us, well before budget.
Sure, makes sense.
So,
When it comes to money, we need 5 bodies, and at least 5, and then we'll do
well, I don't think they're asking for anything that's monetary, that costs money, it's just how we do stuff there.
Right. So a couple most of the stuff I'm working on, I can't talk about it, but a couple minor things. I know the fountain was out, that's taken care of now, it looks like, over Heritage Park. We're good.
Is there potable water? Because I saw kids playing and drinking from it.
Yeah, I know, I'm disturbed by that too, how many people said the fountain hasn't been working, you should drink when we're running, like, really? That's on you. So that's good. And then, I know there was a question about a bench over there. Do you know if Jerry got a chance to look at that, any opinions, what we could do?
We asked when we emailed Tom Warner, but I don't know if Jerry heard back from him.
Okay. All right, just somebody,
If he was okay with them putting some pavers, I mean, but I didn't see any email come back from Tom, or Jerry did.
all right, they'll work it out. So basically, just one of the residents complained that, I guess the bench over at Dalton's Meadows is kind of sinking really low. And people go to sit on it's too low at this point, especially if you're of a certain age, I guess. So, gonna see if there's something we can do in parks is moving to it, just to stabilize it, I guess. I had nothing.
I just had a couple of things. One is that I have spoken recently with Bill Tanner, the township engineer, to revisit the issue, which is the village park, and in particular the erosion that's along the edge there. That hasn't been forgotten about. Essentially, that's been preempted to some degree with the dam and bridge project. But we are going to revisit that, and first things first is visiting again with DEP. And we've gotten the first initial yay as far as proceeding with some sort of remediation. What that remediation will be, we're not quite clear just yet, but we want to make sure we have the permitting to do whatever that remediation is going to be. And that really is the hardest part. Secondarily, regarding a bridge and dam, there's roughly 20 contractors that are on record that are going to bid on that project. That can be good and bad. I've gotten it from Ron Sender, who's the county representative for us on the project, that what happens when you have so many bidders, of course, some can handle the project and some can't. The process of weeding through those entities who have the lowest bid, which have to be responded to, but may also have the poorest quality as far as delivering the actual project. So that process will be ongoing until that's awarded. Last is that, I think it was last Saturday, if I remember correctly, is I went to Bob Dylan's 70th birthday party, which is out off of Brickyard Road. And it is interesting because I'm going to say it's a who's who of Cranbury growing up, you know, through the 70s and since I can remember. But one of the comments was after, you know, a couple of brews and festive times was that he's been very happy with the township and township committee, though he doesn't always get what he wants, is that he is happy that we're trying. So we continue to try, so we'll try to make Bob and others happy, I'm sure. But that's all I have.
I think a good sign is, Bob hasn't been here too much. That's a good sign.
I don't really have anything to report tonight, so.
Any agenda additions or changes?
We do. We have one addition this evening, which would be Cranbury Township Resolution 0813-098, which is a resolution requesting the authorization from the New Jersey Department of Transportation to combine the 2012 and 2013 local aid grants, and this is for the historic Main Street beautification project. So that would be added. Mr. Tanner asked us to include that.
The purpose is basically so that the entire project can be bid out at once instead of in two pieces.
That was our addition. We do have a change tonight also. We are moving the agenda a little bit to move our work session up concerning the sheds so that Mr. Graydon could address the issue. He's on a time constraint this evening.
So let's take care of this one ordinance,
Okay.
and then we'll go directly to that.
Okay, we'll take care of that resolution.
Yeah.
So the ordinances.
And the ordinances first.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
first reading. That resolution will just go into consent.
Oh, it's in consent?
Yes,
All right,
it's in
fine.
consent.
Well, let's go right to the work session.
I think we could do the, only because they're publicized towards 7 o'clock, we can just do, they're just being introduced, so it's just reading them quickly, and then we can do the check. So the first ordinance that we have this evening is being introduced by title only, and it's Cranbury Township Ordinance 0813-21, a bond ordinance authorizing the beautification of the Historic District Phase 2, non-grant costs appropriating $25,000 therefore, and authorizing their issuance of $23,750 bonds or notes of the township to finance part of the cost thereof. That second reading will be on September 9th at 7 p.m.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Cook.
Yes.
Ms. Getz is absent. Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
We have 4 yeas. The second ordinance this evening, being introduced by title only, is Cranbury Township Ordinance 0813-22, an ordinance of the Township of Cranbury, County of Middlesex, and the State of New Jersey, setting standards and fees for the licensing of towing operators in the Township of Cranbury, also on second reading, September 9th at 7 p.m.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Getz is absent. Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
4 yeas. The last ordinance on introduction this evening is being introduced by title only. It is Township Ordinance 0813-23, an ordinance of the Township of Cranbury, Middlesex County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 76, development fees of the Code of the Township of Cranbury by revising various application and escrow fees. This ordinance is on second reading, September 9th at 7 p.m.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Ms. Getz is absent. Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
We have 4 yeas.
Jeff, come on up. We're going to go ahead and take care of the discussion concerning sheds. More specifically, it's a discussion of our ordinances that govern sheds.
Right. So
it might be easiest to tell you what number of shed, what section of the code, and then I compare it with some of the other towns around us, and I'll start by finishing to tell you that our code is the simplest of all codes around us. Many towns have shed ordinances that are extremely restrictive. Things that say you must meet the minimum setback requirement for the zone. Most towns have that. We're one of the few exceptions. Some of the towns have ordinances that say the shed size is dictated by the size of your yard. Now, I'm not advising that we even consider something like this. Ours is very simple, generally works pretty well. Our shed ordinance, I'll read it to you, I'm sure you're pretty familiar with it. It says, a shed is an accessory building. We have to start with that assumption. I don't know how much zoning experience you folks have, but a shed is an accessory building. So all accessory building structures or uses shall be governed by the bulk and area regulations of the zone in which they are located, except, Cranbury has this exception, one of the few towns that does, except that storage sheds associated with 1 and 2 family dwelling units on the same lot as the principal structure shall be located at least 10 foot from the side and rear lot lines. So an example is in the village meeting zone right here, it's normally 12 foot, 40 foot. RLD1, it's 20 foot and 40 foot. Cranbury has said it's a shed. It can be 10 foot from the side, 10 foot from the rear. So then it also says the shed shall not exceed a maximum floor area of 200 square feet. Storage sheds on corner lot shall not be included near the street line. That's everywhere. Everybody does that. So the question when this came about was, how many sheds are you permitted? That's the question, because it says sheds. So I went to the person who really was the person most instrumental in writing our code, which is Harvey Moskowitz. Harvey goes, yeah, absolutely. 1 shed, but maybe 2, maybe, if your area in aggregate is less than 200 square foot. I spoke to Richard Price. Same exact thing. I spoke to the zoning official in Princeton, Hamilton, Montgomery, and West Windsor. They all said the same thing. Even though it says sheds, they're not referring to 2 sheds on a property. They're referring to sheds, but you only allow, and I've always interpreted you can have 2 sheds, but the aggregate must be less than 200 square foot. So if you looked at it another way, you could say, well, I can fit 53 sheds on my property. God knows who would want to do that. And you might have a junk collector who would do that and get away with it if you interpreted it any other way. I think there's a little ambiguity here, though. I think we could, and I hate to suggest changing ordinance, they're expensive. You know, by the time you notice everybody, it's just about everybody in town. By the time you notice and publish, this is not inexpensive, but you could say the aggregate area for sheds on property shall be limited to 200 square foot.
So you're saying, Jeff, that sheds in this case with an S is not plural? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying they're using it that way, yes. It says sheds, so they're referring to a shed on that property and that property. They're not referring to sheds on one property. And we've had cases in town where people have more than 1 shed. One of the sheds becomes an accessory building and meets the setback requirements for that zone. So, RLD, 20 foot at 40, 20 on the side, 40 on the rear. The other shed would be 10 and 10. And we have cases like that where people have had multiple sheds. Sometimes they use the shed as a container for a pool, for example. I can understand if somebody had a large piece of property where maybe they would want 2 sheds, one over in that corner, one over in that corner. I can understand that, but the area is limited in aggregate to 200 square foot. And that's how I interpret it. And I did speak to each of the zoning officials in these other towns. And theirs are, I'll tell you what some of their requirements are. They're pretty interesting. West Windsor, you can be up to 216 square foot. You require a zoning permit and construction permit, but you need to meet the minimum plot zone requirements, the setbacks. Princeton,
must meet the minimum zone requirement, and it changes zone to zone to zone. And there's two precedents, but you're going to get into one. Lawrence is based on the zone. For example, if the lot is 7,500 square foot or less, 80 square feet. So downtown, many of these lots, this shed would be 80 square foot if we use their ordinance. I'm not suggesting their ordinances are the right thing. I'm suggesting ours is liberal. It's been pretty well followed. I mean, people have generally understood that they have a zoning board of adjustment, they need a second shed, you go to the zoning board of adjustment. We have lots, and I can think of ones primarily in the Briggs estates where the backyards are fairly tight. And I can think of some on Main Street where, geez, if I put a 10-foot, I look at a 30-foot wide lot, or 42-foot wide lot, it moves in. That's why there's a zoning board of adjustment. They can hear it, if there's reason to change, to modify what the requirement is, the board's empowered to do that. I do think that ours does have that one bit of ambiguity, sheds, the word sheds.
Do other townships use the word shed?
They do. They typically use the word sheds. They don't say a shed. Most of their ordinances are available online. So that's where I started, was looking online, and I spoke to the zoning officials. And I think towns that were, what I would like, comparable to Cranbury. You know, I didn't pick some urban area or an area that's totally, I'll say, you know, out in the States, but I picked ones that are similar to Cranbury. And you look at these, you know, Princeton, Westminster, Montgomery, Lawrence, they're probably the closest things we have to this. So all in all, I don't believe our ordinance is bad. I think it's probably a pretty good ordinance without change. We've got one case where someone has questioned sheds, well, I've got as many as I want in 34 or 35 years I've been doing this. So I don't see, you know, if you were doing an ordinance change as part of a bunch of them and you lump it in, that would make sense. To do a separate one financially, that doesn't make sense to change the ordinance. So that's what our shed ordinance says. I actually think it's nice that people can have 200 square foot. I wish I had 200 square foot in my yard. I think I did 140 when I built mine. But 200 is a nice size shed, and people generally use good sense. If you look downtown, you don't see a 200 square foot shed.
Well, you could have two at 100 square foot each.
That's
because
the way I
of
interpret it, which is a liberal interpretation. It's pretty liberal.
But the issue is someone obviously is triggered north of 200 with multiple sheds.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah. The aggregate is greater than 200. One of the numbers is 120 and one's 160, for example. I don't know the numbers, but something like that. If that person moved that shed 6.5 foot from the sideline, that shed would be compliant.
So it's a semantics issue initially, but the feeling is we have to be more specific as to the definition of sheds within that segment.
No, I'm actually comfortable with this ordinance. I don't think it's something that requires an immediate reaction. If in this case, and this is the first one I've heard like this in ever, I've been doing this a long time, this person doesn't like that and wants to say, well, I really want this shed here. That's why we have the zoning board of adjustment. The person goes to the zoning board and say, I can make a reasonable case why I need 2 sheds that exceed 200 square foot.
That's the recourse for someone who's
Yes.
either A, thinking of going into violation or is in violation. Okay.
Now, in this case, that shed was not applied for. The shed in 1999 was applied for. This shed wasn't applied for. And that person known in the beginning that when they made an application, they would have been told, you need to put this shed here if you want to have it. They didn't do that. It was just, it showed up. I go by and saw it.
All right, so the issue isn't people having 2 sheds, so one for a pool, one for lawn equipment, it's just the size of the sheds and
The
aggregate.
aggregate side. I view it as aggregate.
Okay, because when I drive around Shadow Oaks, there's a lot of people with pool sheds and.
And if you look at the pool sheds, and go to Shadow Oaks, the first house on the right.
Yep.
Notice where they're set? They need the setbacks for the zone. There's another one on Jefferson where there are 2. In fact, they had 3. They just did some improvements on the home. They went to the zoning board of adjustment, and they now have 2 sheds. They don't have 3. But that went to the zoning board of adjustment. And they have one sort of the driveway, and then there's one a little farther back. If you drive around Shadow Oaks, I think you find anybody that's, unless one got missed, that they would have come in either to the zoning board, or they would have made it an accessory building. It did not, with the shed ordinance is a granting of a special situation where you can get around the zoning requirement by building a shed of less than 200 square foot. It can be 10 foot from the side, it's okay. But when you have more than 200 square feet, it's an accessory building, it has to meet the requirements of the zone.
Would they have had to come in, and let's say that the aggregate was at 200 or below, would they have to come in for that second shed?
Now, if they were less than 200, I would not be required to come in for it. I'm looking at it as an aggregate, which I think is a pretty liberal interpretation. I spoke to Harvey about Harvey Moskowitz, says, yeah, that wasn't the original intent, but you can do that, and I can see why some people might want 2 smaller sheds.
But the onus then comes on to you as far as policing the second shed that goes up on a Saturday, as far as the square footage is concerned, right?
A shed that's 10 by 12 and greater requires a building permit.
10 by 10, anything greater than 100 square foot requires a construction.
Oh, I thought it was 10 by 12.
It's 10 by 10.
All right, so 10 by 10, required, and then in aggregate, you got me at that 200 square foot, you had 2 10 by 10 sheds.
Versus 1 10 by 20.
Yeah, that's good to know, that's the number, because, if there's a building permit threshold, obviously that's a game changer, right?
So, I'm sorry.
Good.
In this case, though, there was no, in the original shed on this property, there was a construction permit issue, and there was a zoning permit issue.
Well, I don't think we should focus on one property. I think we just need to focus on the ordinance and make sure that we're being clear with the ordinance. I think that's the most important thing. So let's forget like one use case out there. So did you want to finish the statement that I cut you off? I apologize.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if there's a way through the building construction process that we could capture this issue so that somebody comes in and says, okay, I have to file for this construction permit, and then Greg says, okay, you're building a 10 by 10 shed, do you have anything on the property that's a shed today? And if so, what's the dimensions of that?
That's my job. I do that.
Okay, all right, so,
When the people apply, they're required to turn in and it doesn't have to be a properly done survey by a licensed surveyor, but most people in town have that. A mark on a survey is supposed to show all improvements on the property. It would show the shed, the original shed, it would say the size. It would show the new shed, it would say the size. If there wasn't an original, it would say, here's the location of my new shed. I mean, we get dozens of these. People turn it in, everything looks like, you already have a shed. What are you doing with the shed? Is that being removed? 90% of the time, yeah, we have to rot it out, that's why we bought a new shed.
I don't, to me, my knee jerk is to somehow, whenever we make this change, whether now or we aggregate and roll them up, is that we need to have sheds as singular. I know it's painful or obvious as it should be, I don't think it is. And I know this is one event, but it sounds like I can see this happening down the road is if sheds with an S was, oh, it's plural, and then the aggregate square footage goes out the window, as far as the homeowner.
I
They
agree.
would get a permit.
Mhm.
They would get a permit for it.
So what would happen if we just picked a number, like 1 or 2 sheds? You can have one shed, I guess 200 square feet is what you're saying right now, or you could have 2 sheds at 100 square feet, or I guess would be the number, right? Is that the way it would work?
Yeah,
Would it be that
I
simple?
do this aggregate. So one could be, 80 foot, the other 120, I didn't split it in the middle.
But the maximum is 100 square feet that you can do a 10 by 10, right? Wait, remember?
it's one shed,
just
200.
one shed 10 by,
total.
one shed 10 by 10 is 100 square feet, then you have to go for a building permit and
Right.
everything else.
But if you
But
do
no
a
matter
smaller
what-
shed, you don't need a
But if
building.
you do small,
Excuse me?
If you do a smaller shed than
You
10 by
don't
10,
need a
you don't
building
need a
permit.
building.
You do need a zoning permit for
Right.
any shed.
It's
Above-
still included
oh, you do?
in the
Yes.
average.
Even if it's a 9 by 9 by
Yes.
10 or something?
Yes.
Okay. So that's done. I'm with you on that. We should figure out, like, if we're gonna go from this plural thing, what the number should be, is kind of where I'm coming at on this. do one, we want to do two, we want to do 10. I don't know what people want, what their head is, where their head's at.
Well,
I think it's 53, to be honest with you.
Well, it sounds two-tier. One is that at least when you have the word shed singular, if you have one already, like the homeowners can say, oh, I already have one. I mean, I'm thinking ahead with a homeowner here, then that's going to trigger, oh, I have to identify something. But then the zoning issue, they have to come in for the second shed no matter what, which is, I don't know if people really know that. I guess if it's north than the 10 by 10, right? If
They come in, I mean, people come in for sheds all the time.
But you need a permit for any shed.
Any shed.
Okay, well, that sounds like that wasn't done in one of the cases.
Right, and that's when you get a problem, is when somebody doesn't do it,
Okay.
Yeah,
that's where you get the problem.
if you're supposed to have a zoning permit, you absolutely should have done that. I agree with that 100%. I guess the question I'm still stuck on, it says plural sheds.
Yeah.
And, if I'm looking at it, I can have as many as I want right now. If we're gonna change it from plural to that, we ought to stop and just pause. Should we be thinking two for people? Because I'm kind of thinking two sheds personally, just based on a very unscientific, sampling at a pool. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, when I start looking at people's backyards, I'm starting to pay a lot more attention to people who have sheds. It seems if there's a pool, there's two sheds.
That's right. And one's typically a man that needs to set back requirements, and that's not, I can think of approving any of those.
Sure.
So that's why I'm thinking.
So that is no longer a shed now.
But in the homeowner, right? But in the homeowner's mind,
In your mind, it's a shed,
It's a
so
shed.
that's an accessory building.
Well, in my eye, I'm just thinking that the aggregate 200 square feet works, and that I think sheds should be shed, or some sort of description as in singular. But if the aggregate is 200, if they have 3 sheds or 2, I don't know.
That's the way I feel.
To me.
yeah, I'm of that opinion that if it's the aggregate's 200, if people want to have 3 sheds that are that,
3-1,
Yeah.
you know.
3, yeah.
I just don't want shed police to be a big issue,
So
have 3 sheds next door.
So we're gonna say the aggregate going forward. We're gonna leave the plural, is that what we're gonna say?
I'd be comfortable leaving the plural just because I think, again, people think that they can have a shed, and to try and go through the definition with the homeowner and say, no, it's not a shed, it's an accessory building, start arguing over semantics of accessory building versus shed. I think Jeff has the right view.
Does the wording equate to aggregate though? That's the other question I have in the current ordinance.
You know, that's an interpretation, it doesn't say that. So you could change it to say sheds are limited to 200 foot in aggregate.
Yeah. I think
Period.
that's-
That would clarify.
There you go.
this.
We need to take the pressure off the ambiguity of it, if that makes sense.
That would clarify. Or you could say one shed, I don't have a dog in the fight. But that's the way I've interpreted this for a long time, and it's worked.
Yeah.
So, in the aggregate, it's just fine with me, or you could say one shed up to, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I like using aggregate, to be honest with you. I think that solves the problem. The only question I have is, are you going to be going through Main Street, pulling out the old zoning permits for all the people that have 3 or 4 barns in the,
No. What usually happens. is
Sleeping
a neighbor-
dogs, Jay, sleeping dogs.
You live in Cranbury, you should know, what usually happens is a neighbor complains.
point taken, yep. Because I started counting between my yard, which has 1 shed, which is not within the 10 foot. I mean, I don't even know if it's on the property line or over the property line. But then my neighbors have the back house, the carport, the old chicken coop. And I was sitting there going, it's a real interesting scenario how life has evolved from the way it used to be to today, with arguing with pool sheds and whatnot versus chicken coops.
And if you look at the people who have 3-car garages, they typically don't have sheds. Typically, you might find 1 or 2, but typically.
And all their cars are sitting in the driveway because the 3-car garages don't fold.
Well, the reality is people have so much stuff, it's crazy. They go on and over, and you got this and you got that. So, all right, so we're clear. So we're saying the maximum you can build a shed without construction is a 10 by 10.
And that's not.
You don't say that. I mean, you don't say that as a committee. That's set by construction code.
Right, I'm just
You
saying.
understand.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, as to our rationale on the numbers we're coming up with. So, we can, without construction getting involved, we can say, hey, go at it, you can get a 10 by 10. So what we're saying is, we'll let you go aggregate, you can have a 200 square foot shed or two 100 square foot sheds, or break it up whatever animal you want?
As long as it's 200.
That's it. So, and what's the official wording change we think we need to recommend that?
I think we're checking.
Just an aggregate.
Okay. So, if everyone will talk through, how would we recommend it as zoning board?
Planning.
Oh, planning board, I apologize. Thank you.
That would be my recommendation.
We can plan.
You know, if we send it to the planning board and we get their feedback, do we then have to proceed immediately to make a change?
No, but we would write it, this is how, when I talked to Trishka, she said we do it two ways. We can either write up the ordinance, introduce it, give it to the planning board, give them however many days they have to review it, they come back to us, we adopt it. As long as there's no changes to it, we adopt it as it is. Or Trishka can draft up the ordinance based on planning board's suggestion per Jeff, and then they'll send it to us, they've already reviewed it, and just introduce and adopt, same way we do any other ordinance, so it could be done either way.
I mean, procedurally, are we in a situation where we've got to notice everybody attending?
That I don't know. To add wording to the ordinance,
I think you're faced with I believe you're faced with a significant issue. Chris could better answer that, but when you
if
change
that's the
something,
case, that's
Sure,
very
you need to
wide.
notice and publish.
We don't do that for every ordinance.
But this has to do with changing something in
material
zoning or planning.
So if we're already interpreting it in aggregate, can we just say, Jeff, we agree with you. Keep
You can do
interpreting
that.
it.
You can, and not change the ordinance.
And well, you don't have to change the ordinance to do that.
Right, and then not change the ordinance, just say, Jeff, you have our backing to keep interpreting it the way you're interpreting it.
So does,
You don't have to do a thing.
Well, my one question would be then, it sounds like all of this was triggered by someone not coming in for the initial permit to begin with. So everything else is just kind of collateral damage or issues that come from that. I guess you.
It's like somebody building a fence,
That
and
makes
getting
sense.
a fence
And
permit.
then they get caught, and it's a big issue, we go, why are you picking on me because I built a fence?
all right, so what we're saying is, we stay with the interpretation, that's logical and binding, okay? But if we get hit on like one or two more times, maybe we need to make a change, how's that sound?
But if you were to
Yeah.
change it, do it when you do a bunch of
A bunch of
ordinances.
ordinances.
So that you don't have an expense.
Yeah,
I don't think it's that pressing. I actually found another error in the zoning book this weekend, or last weekend. 15041, there's a section where it's supposed to say ROLI, and it only says RO. We don't have an RO zone, that's a typo. Those we can, that's a typo.
What would be a row zone? Is there one?
Well, that's no change without,
Yeah.
That
I
one
know
is
what you
changed.
mean.
That's a-
Yes.
That's a typo. because we've found
Yes.
a number of typos when we're going through rec code.
This had to do with a sign ordinance that this attorney from Canada was calling me, but it's not in the ROLI zone, but it's permitted in the RO, so why not in the ROLI? You're in the ROLI. It's permitted. And the guy called very upset that, you reviewed the ordinance and his client wants a small sign.
I would not want to see the attorney go from Canada from
Got a few hours in. So.
All right, so I can buy into a wait and see then, see if anybody else pays us on it, or gains us on it, I should say. And if we have to, we'll make a change.
Yeah, I'm just glad to know that it's viewed in aggregate so that we don't have all these homes and shadow homes getting damaged. And that's what my only concern is.
Yeah. The only way that would happen is if the neighbor called and said, hey, these people put another shed. I mean, when people who don't apply, usually what happens is they have some incident with the neighbor, or somebody who doesn't like them, who calls and says, hey, Jeff, they just built a shed over here with no permit. And they don't know why should be looking for it. That's typically what happens. So,
Yeah, we have a lot of neighbors with binoculars out the windows instead.
Oh, Jeff, what happens if this, I know this isn't directly related, but let's say they haven't gotten a permit, what happens? Are they obligated to take it down and put it back up, or what?
here, your residents. So, I'll usually go by their home, try to catch them at home and say, hey, you can get a permit. That happens frequently. You didn't get a permit, you can go down and apply for a permit. After 2 or 3 shots down, when you don't catch them at home, I'll leave them a note. Please call me, I need to speak to you about your shed, sign Jeff Brady, Cranbury Township zoning officer, give her my home phone number. Sometimes I have to do that a couple of times. Finally, what they call is, if you didn't get a shed permit, you need to go downtown, you need two things. You need to apply for a shed permit. For construction, you need to apply for a zoning permit. I can issue the zoning permit, but in this case, I saw, you have another shed, what are you doing with that? And very often people get, it's a little upset, I don't need a permit. Well, you do need a permit, so go down and get your permit, and then we can deal with it from there. The only time there's enforcement action on these is when people put their back up against the wall and say, I'm not doing it, I'm not getting a permit. I'm pretty gentle on this. It takes a couple of months to get to that point. This particular case goes back to April, so it's been a while. But last thing you want to do is beat up the resident.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, just to compare Jeff's approach, I mean, I know people in West Windsor that have not gotten permits and they've been told to take things down or rip out finished basements. So I think that Jeff's approach is
Our goal is to get them, and when there's a zoning violation, it's something that needed to go before the board. Go down and take it before the board. That's the goal here. Let the board deal with it. And then the board can be the arbitrator here. It's when, they lure you or me and just say, I'm doing what I want. Sometimes with a few customers that it becomes, right, you'll get a, if you don't do what I ask you to do, you'll get a notice of violation and you will not like the consequences. The minute they start arguing, that's what I tell them. You get a notice, you give you 10 days. It's pretty simple.
So a couple points. Gene, for the website, I don't think we have anything under the FAQ section for sheds. We should probably add something there that says, you need a zoning permit when you get a shed, right? You always need a zoning. We should put that on the FAQ, like letting people know that you need that. And, just a summary out of the code of, aggregate 200 square feet, something like that.
It's on the zoning application.
Yeah. I'm with you, but even our FAQ, because I saw some of the other towns, I was looking around today.
Actually, Lawrence should have it.
On their FAQ?
Well, it wasn't anything here, but it talked about, we have a form we've had for a long, long time.
Right.
The problem is maybe that form should be, it is visible on the website.
Yeah. No, all I'm saying is, I noticed the other towns, when you go to their website, under FAQ, they have those common questions. I think a shed's a pretty
Shed's
common one.
offensive.
Make it a higher profile.
So just keep it where it is, and then also let's highlight in the FAQ, if you could take a look at that, that would be great. Yeah, that's
I think
also.
you're absolutely
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, just the more information people.
Yeah, because I wasn't even clear you needed a permit on a shed until I talked to Jeff, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things.
Do you have your permits?
So the other thing I want to talk about was, I think we are being very fair, because a lot of the other towns I looked at had lower thresholds than 200 square feet, so.
There was only one that was larger.
Right.
It was 216.
Yeah. So I think we're doing a pretty good job, is what I'm trying to say, so.
A lot of 100 square foot.
100, 150 was I saw it.
Ours is, I think it's very liberal compared to the towns around us.
Right.
And Cranbury School has never been over-regulated. But, if it's broken, let's try not to break it. It's worked pretty well.
Yeah. So I feel clear on the issue, know what you need for a building permit. We're going to go with the interpretation, we may think a few more times, we'll have to make a change, and hopefully it holds. So, I feel good.
Yeah, no, I feel good too. My whole thing was I was just worried that, one neighbor was gonna call and say, I got penalized, so this neighbor has it, and that neighbor has it, and then just running around calling phones and shadow works.
It hasn't happened.
Well, it has the checks and balance, which is it's not the permit, you need the permit no matter what comes after that, so that's what it sounds like to me.
And if two people, want two sheds and they want to avoid the construction permit, they're 10, 8 by 10, and you're under the 200 square foot, you need a permit. You know, so you don't even need a permit.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the real.
Chuck, maybe we'll bring you once a month, we'll just open the code book and do random code with it, what do you think?
Hold on, Jeff, can I answer your question?
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
When you talk about square footage, are you talking about the footprint square footage?
It says floor area of the
The
shed.
reason why, because technically you could have a 10 by 20 barn, right? You could have a loft up there.
No, you can't.
No, I'm saying a person.
No, we've had that case. It talks about, it had, what it says is floor area of the shed, not the footprint. It's very clear that our ordinance says floor area.
So how would you ever know if a person went ahead and had rafters up there, and then suddenly he decided to put planks up on the second, over the rafters and
Sheds
use
are
it as
also-
storage?
Sheds are limited to one floor. That's the type of structure they are. So,
Okay, just excellent.
Thank you.
both. Have fun.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Good to see you.
I see Don Davidson in the audience, so why don't we do the other work session now as well? Sure. That would make sense. Don, come on. This is about the proposed sign. Down in the water. We all have a facsimile